So I would love for you to share about this book, not what I expected. There's so many things I've underlined and I haven't even finished your book. So it's really a great tool.
Thank you.
So I could ask you so many questions, and Mia, please feel free to jump in. So I think we kind of get a sense of your heart and your focus and how you ended up focusing on this. And I so appreciate, as a psychologist, the one who's giving that, piece of paper to parents that's so devastating, or sharing a diagnosis, that you care so much about what happens when the door shuts. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I wish you could tell more professionals and medical professionals, please be aware of what happens when that door shuts. And please, I've heard just horror stories about diagnoses being delivered and how they've, the words that were used, and not a lot of hope offered. Mm-hmm. And certainly I know that there are complex and difficult situations and diagnoses to give, but there has to be a class in medical school about delivering the news.
You would think.
Yes, so anyway,
one would think.
Thank you so much. What do you think is the best thing to say to parents or a mom grappling with a new diagnosis?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure on that one. No lead up at all. Okay, new diagnosis. I think I would need a visual, and I think it's very individual. Mm-hmm. What I said before about trauma, big T's, small T's, mm-hmm. I have seen parents, and bear in mind, I don't deliver the worst diagnoses. The more severe diagnoses come from the physician, and then they come to me for the more holistic, how is it affecting their impact. Okay. So they already come to me with some pretty profound diagnoses. Okay. But the reactions from parents are very individual. If perhaps parents who have a huge family around them, aren't financially stressed, have resources, perhaps that makes it easier. But perhaps not. I think it's very, there's a lot of resilience that people bring to the table. Some of us are born more resilient than others. Mm-hmm. Some of us are more delicate. Mm-hmm. And that has a lot to do with how they're going to receive a reaction. So I think the first thing is engaging the parents' trust in this journey together, that we're going to discover your child together in a very loving way, and that also that diagnoses, what I've written in the book, a diagnosis is not the end game. It's not the end game. It's not end stage anything. This is a child, and childs have potential. The beauty of children is neuroplasticity and growth. They're always growing. And that they come to this planet with their own set of circumstances, and that we have to lovingly embrace that and know how to have our own resilience to take care of it. I know I've heard that mothers of special needs children are often called saints, and right, and we know
you're amazing. I don't know how you do it.
I could never do that. Well, hello. Nobody chooses this, and nobody would ask for it. Sure. But also, I have yet to meet someone that wants to give back their child. So, yes, you will rise. You will rise to the occasion.
Can you touch base a little bit about post-traumatic growth? This is something I've heard about, and I'm really very interested in your thoughts on that.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, post-traumatic growth is, we've all heard of post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes.
And parents do fall into this category, they can, of post-traumatic or acute traumatic stress disorder, where the stressors of having a child with so many needs shakes and rattles them to the point of not being able, you talk about self-care, but how do you help a parent approach even visualizing self-care. You cannot do that when they're in this post or acute traumatic stress phase. But aside of that is something, and I don't want to put pressure on parents that feel like they have to go there either. Where's my growth? I'm not feeling any growth here. So, but there is something called post-traumatic growth. That out of dire circumstances can come growth. So this is a faith journey. I want you to look up to the light and say, I don't know why this is a blessing, but in some way it is, and I'm going to find out how. I am going to find out how this child with these circumstances is a blessing for me. As an example, when you're not finding me in the office, by the way, you're either going to find me in a yoga class or on the beach. So I'm on the beach a lot. And I'm on the beach, and there's, we're in Southern California, so there's lovely boardwalks where everybody's walking, and I see a very, very special needs child in a wheelchair with a lot of tubes and a lot of hookups. And I look at who's pushing this child, and I see two of the most joyful people. They're laughing and they're joking and they're glowing. They are glowing.
That was me and my husband. No.
There you go. And it's, wow. I'm quite sure that there was a point in their life where they were not glowing.
Yeah.
Where it's scary. But for this moment in time, they were glowing.
Oh.
And I looked around. I didn't see other people glowing. They were the glow.
Wow.
So I'm not telling you to be the glow, because that would sound phony. But find the glow is a journey. It's a faith journey. But try to find a little glow every day, and you will find it if you can allow yourself that time.
I love that. Is beautiful. That is beautiful. And I have, I'm now almost 16 years into our story with our son Ryan. And so I'm in a very different place today than I was 5 years ago, 8 years ago, certainly 15 and a half, 16 years ago. And I like to tell parents who are in the early stages, yes, there will be blessings, and yes, there will be gifts. But I almost feel like I'm entering shark-infested waters by saying that. It's like I'm very careful who I say it to and when, and if it's appropriate, because sometimes you don't want to hear that when you're in the throes of it in the beginning. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. My dreams were just dashed and crushed. Don't tell me that there's going to be blessings and gifts and wonderful personal, emotional, and spiritual growth. I don't want to hear that right now. So we have to be really sensitive
to not minimize people's experience.
Yes, exactly. Because I think I'm all about, you absolutely have to validate everyone's pain.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, Rita, I hope you don't mind. I reading your book, you go through the stages of grief as they relate to the experience as a parent of atypical kids. And, kind of along with those stages of grief, I don't remember the order, the kind of final stage is acceptance. But I'm curious, do you find with the parents that you work with that, you get to that acceptance point and then something brings you back to depression or bargaining, or what is that process like?
It's such a good question.
It's so good.
I wrote the book in order. And when I got to the acceptance chapter, I felt like, I could write a whole book just on acceptance. And in a way, it's a very different book. So if you don't have patience, just go back to acceptance. But yes, you can be thrown back.
Absolutely, I agree.
So I assume if anyone's watching this that they've gotten past denial, although denial has waves to it. He's not that bad. So, and then after denial comes anger. It's so normal. If you're in a grocery store and someone steps on your foot really hard, you're going to be angry. And so for this, I mean, I'd really like to show you the hand model of the brain and what happens, if I may.
Sure.
So this is not my hand model, but it was my mentor and colleague and friend, Dr. Dan Siegel, who created the hand model. He also wrote the foreword for the book. But I'm going to add to it. So this is our brain, everybody's brain. It's really nifty how this does mimic our brain. So this is the brain stem. It's all coming up in here. Right, and this is our lower brain, and this is our amygdala, and the area, the midbrain, or the lizard brain, or our downstairs brain. That's all in here, all the emotions. The people that really wanted to kill me when I said there's gifts along the way, it was coming from there.
Okay.
Right. So luckily we don't lead with this in our life. We lead with this. This is our frontal lobe. And so it's like really nifty. See, it's like a real brain. So frontal lobe is like right here. And so most of the time we're leading with our frontal lobe leading. This is the voice of reason, the thing that inhibits our inner feelings and stuff. Now, everyone make your fist and put your thumb inside.
Okay.
That's your amygdala. And okay, now we're going to mimic, you can do this at home, we're going to mimic a brain under stress, okay? Squeeze. Squeeze harder. What do you notice?
Our amygdala's crying out a little bit.
It hurts.
It hurts.
So I also notice the veins are popping.
Oh.
So notice the cardiac intensity. It affects your heart, it affects your circulation, it affects your blood pressure. Are we still squeezing?
Yes, I am.
That thumb is killing us, right? It hurts, right? And the tendency is, so this is the painful emotions, and makes us want to flip our lid and release the pain and vent.
It does feel good.
Doesn't that feel good? Yeah, but flipping our lid is a normal reaction. We train our kids not to flip our lid, but as adults, when we're in pain and we're under stress, this is what we're walking around with. And so the first step to self-care for parents is to notice, just notice. It helps to do this, and then let your hand relax, and then notice what state are you in? Are you in that squeeze pressure state? Because if so, you're going to be reacting from your lizard brain, from your downstairs brain, from your anger. Or you think you're containing it, but it shows on your face, the veins are popping up, you know. So the first step to self-care is letting go. Or acknowledging.
Letting go of expectations, letting go of the anger, bitterness, resentment that life didn't go like you wanted, hoped, dreamed.
Oh, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Well, that's like lots of therapy and that's many months or years.
So like letting go of the stress, or just sort of being like, I'm in a state of extreme stress?
Well, I think breathe.
Yeah.
Okay. I just think breathe.
Okay.
Step one is always breathe, guys. Primer 101, breathe. Very
it's free.
easy.
And it's free. I always say deep breaths are free. You can do that in the morning.
You can do that.
Or any time of day.
I'll tell you, people who are stressed have a hard time breathing. So I've seen it. I've seen it. You tell them to breathe and it's... No, that's not breathing. But notice that and be kind to yourself. So this is reflective of the trauma that you're carrying around inside yourself. And it is trauma. So before we get to growth, we have to acknowledge the place we're in. And there's always room to get help and emotional support. But there's free emotional support. The sunshine, the sky. Look up. Look at the light. Breathe. Cut yourself a flower. Take a walk. You know, there are free and available, but you have to understand that this is the way to declench your fisty brain. And then that can lead you to a little more self-care, which indeed can lead you to some level of post-traumatic growth, but it's a process.